Rory?
Paper.
Daniel?
That stuff.
Henry?
Paper that you fold and make stuff out of.
Diego?
Folded.
Okay. When people think of origami, people typically think of folding paper or traditional cranes, flowers, and balloons. They don't think of incredible figures like these, all folded from a single square of paper. They don't think of how origami has spread to numerous different fields like math and science. When I first chose my topic, I figured it would be about how origami models have changed over time. But now I know that there is so much more to its evolution as an art form. It's an incredible art, and its progress is widely unknown. My name is Hanna McKee, I'm 13 years old, and for my capstone, I studied origami. First, let's get a bit of background. Origami was invented in Japan over 400 years ago. The Chinese invented paper 2,000 years ago, but it wasn't folded into shapes and animals until many years later. Paper was less common back then, so it was very expensive, and only the wealthiest people could fold origami. It was typically used for ceremonial events, like weddings or funerals, but it was also used as gifts. As paper became more common, it began to be folded for fun. Although origami is known as an ancient art, that is far from the truth. Even though it was invented over 400 years ago, 99% of origami was created within the past 5 decades. As origami artist Michael LaFosse said, "It is indeed a more modern form of art than painting, music, sculpture, or any other classical medium of artistic expression that comes to mind." The reason for this revolution is Akira Yoshizawa. Akira Yoshizawa is known as the father of modern origami and is regarded as one of the most talented and influential origami artists ever. Yoshizawa was born in Japan in 1911 and became interested in origami at a very young age. In the mid-1930s, he quit his factory job to devote his life to origami. His work was first exhibited in the early 1950s, when the most complicated thing that anybody knew about origami was an origami crane. When they saw his designs, it sparked a worldwide origami revolution in the 1950s and 60s, and the development of origami has only continued from there. Yoshizawa also developed a new technique called wet folding, where you dampen the paper to make it more pliable and stronger when it dries. He was able to make beautiful, soft shapes that had never before been seen in origami, like this origami squirrel by Michael LaFosse. Although his models didn't have the most detail, he was able to make them look alive with his new technique. He also created diagramming, which is a way of recording the steps to fold a model. How many of you have folded origami using instructions? Great. If so, then you've most likely used his method. Here's an example. Because of this, origami wasn't limited by memory, and it was able to grow even more beautiful and complex. Soon, origami artists began to realize that they could use math to help create their origami designs. It wasn't guesswork anymore. Now they knew how to create certain bases or features with formulas. In the 90s, physicist and origami artist Robert Lang created a computer program called Tree Maker. In Tree Maker, you draw a stick figure of the origami model you wanted, and it created a pattern that you could use to fold the base. Once you had that, adding detail was easy. Origami artists can now create incredibly complicated and detailed works of art with the click of a mouse. However, one of the most significant parts of the evolution of origami is when scientists decided that they could also incorporate origami into their field. In 2003, Chinese engineer Zhong Yu designed a heart stent that collapses to fit into the blood veins, then expands at its destination. In 2005, scientists used origami to figure out how protein molecules could fold inside the body and were able to create more effective medicines. With the help of Robert Lang, airbags were soon created using an origami formula, accompanied by a space telescope lens that would fold down for takeoff, and many more. Meanwhile, the origami revolution was spreading everywhere. Origami education programs began to pop up that helped children understand abstract math through origami. Fashion joined in, and in 2007, Christian Dior created a spring line with dresses inspired by origami. Also included in that category is origami jewelry. Origami wiggled its way into movies as well, with the 2008 documentary Between the Folds. Technology participated by creating origami-inspired gadgets like foldable iPad cases. Even the paper grocery bags that you use at the store have origami in them. The possibilities were endless. With all of the new origami developments, it is easy to forget what started it all. The original art form was still going strong. Thanks to Akira Yoshizawa, other artists decided to pursue origami as a career, and origami art blossomed. The number of steps in a model grew from 25 to 100, all the way up to 1,000, where we are today. Museums began showing origami exhibits, which turned origami into an art and moved it into the same category as painting and sculpture. Origami was also evolving to become incredibly detailed and realistic. Here's a picture of Yoshizawa's early work in the 50s and 60s. Oopsies. And here is one by Robert Lang today. It has grown tremendously, getting more complicated, technical, and beautiful all the time. One of the reasons that origami has grown to be so popular is the feeling of finishing a great model and being able to say, I made that. It is calming and relaxing, and in the end, you have something that you can be proud of. In order to get that spectacular finish, though, you have to know some of the rules. One of the most important factors of making a great origami model is having the right paper. Even if you do everything right, the paper can make all the difference in the world, whether the model turns out nicely or not. The typical store-bought origami paper is fine for beginners, but if you are doing a more complex model, you're going to want something different. These special papers are thinner and stronger, making the paper able to tolerate more creases without tearing. Another important aspect is how you fold the paper. Many people start origami by folding an origami crayon that doesn't look exactly as they expected. Then they get discouraged and give up. Making a crisp fold in the right place can make all the difference, and the model will look better. Overall, this simple art form has come a long way, branching out into math, science, and more. Origami requires patience, time, and a steady hand, but in the end, the result can be truly beautiful. All you need to succeed is an idea and a piece of paper. There were several different parts of my project. For the main aspect of my project, I took origami classes with renowned origami master Michael LaFosse, who's located right here in Massachusetts. Michael is unique because he is one of the few origami artists that makes the medium himself. I was not able to make paper with Michael, but in the time I had, I was able to fold this incredible origami sailboat made with one square of paper and no cuts. I folded a practice model first to get to know how to fold the model, and then I folded the final. Overall, the final sailboat took me about 3 hours to fold, and it was definitely worth the time. Here are a couple of pictures. This is the sailboat folding in progress.